Hey everybody, good morning, good morning. I'm really happy. I mean, not like really happy, but I mean, I'm happy. I mean, not like super happy. I'm not super sad. I'm just kind of like even, but it's lovely that I can think and feel and strategize and whatever, right? So that's always a good thing because it means your brain is working. Well, lately I have been really fascinated, like really fascinated with some of these murder cases, whether it's like Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander, to the Laci Peterson case and Scott Peterson, and then the Chris Watts case and the Sha'nan Watts. And I'm just thinking, like, I'm gravitating towards these YouTube videos for a reason. I'm listening to the interrogation, tapes that the police have released out for public knowledge. I'm listening to something. I haven't heard anything about Laci. I mean, I haven't heard from Laci Peterson because back then that she wasn't doing YouTube or doing anything on Facebook Live. But I was listening to Sha'nan Watts and listening to just her, YouTube videos about what's going on with her and her MLMs before she was murdered by her husband. And I was listening to Travis Alexander and Jodi Arias because she had a bunch of tapes on, just before she murdered him. And I'm like, you know what? There's a running theme here. And I couldn't really fully figure out why it is that I'm listening to these people. Because I mean, when I was a kid, I was fascinated in forensic justice, forensic investigations, all this stuff, right? And I'm like wondering what has made these people who they are? Like what causes a person to be a brutal killer? But I never asked myself what caused a person to be a victim. And there's so many, it's so political out there that it's almost like you don't even want to touch it, but then maybe you need to. And my protocol is very political of sorts, right? So maybe it's time that I touch why it is that we have these types of victims in different severity levels. Well, let's bring it back to the allopathic and the holistic market. Okay? They are allowing you guys to adapt to the wrong elements. Everything on Earth is made up of different chemical compositions, different elements, positive and negative. You can look at the periodic tables and you can see that for yourself. You don't need proof, okay? Everything is made up of different elements. And there's a balance relative to the intention of the different solid or liquids that are out there, elements. And then there is adaptation. Life, whether biochemistry or biodiversity, everything adapts relative to the environment. Now, you may see mutations, changes that happen when there is an upset of homeostasis. Okay? You may see those things happen. And that's what right now is shocking to people, is that when we do mix negative elements with positive elements, and then you're seeing the upset of homeostasis, people get all freaked out, like, oh my God, you're killing this, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, right? And everyone gets all political about it, right? But what would happen if we understood that, yeah, okay, relative to the intention, you're going to have an upset of homeostasis just for a minute until things start leveling out, and then the environment adapts to those conditions. Now, given that we are in a very active society, you're always going to have changing conditions on some level. Now, if you have too much of a condition that's really, really aggressively changing and it's not staying just even after it changes, then yeah, you're going to see a fluctuations. You're going to see the upset of homeostasis happen because what's going to happen is when you do have a change, say you have like a certain amount okay, so let's say we're out there in the middle of the rural America, and it's just an even environment. Nothing is upsetting it. You have your predictable seasons and everything is great. And then one day, ADM or some industry comes in and builds their factory. Now you're going to see an upset of homeostasis, right? Because now you're going to have extra elements, positive and negative elements coming in and upsetting that environment for only a minute until that continuous life cycle of that factory stays put. It doesn't disappear, but it stays put. And then the environment will adapt to that extra element that wasn't there before. And then everything is okay. But that initial upset of homeostasis of when that factory was actually put in was what caused the fluctuation. And then there's fallout from that, right? From that fluctuating negative elements. So let's bring this back to these victims, Travis Alexander, Sha'nan Watts, and Laci Peterson. Their buy-in to the matrix of the allopathic and the holistic industry has allowed them to adapt to elements that are completely violating their immune system, violating whatever. They've allowed to adapt to the wrong type of element. And people can say, well, they're so smooth, and they're so, there was no red flag, in their relationship. People don't know what happens behind closed doors. There is nothing that is a surprise. When someone ends up dead in a relationship, there was some kind of sign in that relationship, whether or not the people outside of the house saw it. Because some family members say that, I didn't see anything, I'm sure the Petersons said that they didn't see any red flags. I'm sure the Watts family said they didn't see any red flags. I'm sure Travis, they did see red flags. They tried to warn him. But nobody ends up dead without some kind of red flags. And the person would know the red flags are in the actual relationship. But why did these women stay with these psycho, or men stay with these psycho partners? Because they allowed themselves to adapt to an environment that was completely against them. Whether they were just anesthetizing themselves, ignoring the red flags because they wanted a fantasy of a good-looking husband or a good-looking girlfriend, the sex, whatever. And that's no different than in the allopathic and the holistic model. When you're adapting to these detoxes, to these negative elements. And so that right there makes sense. So that's why I'm not concerned about the chemtrails. I'm not concerned about 5G. I'm not concerned about all the GMO and all this stuff, right? Because those are just negative elements that just need to be countered properly. But if you don't counter them properly, guess what? You're going to adapt to those negative elements. And yes, they're going to affect you. Yes, you're going to see, because it's going to violate the laws of your immune system, and then you're going to degrade. But then you're going to take in more negative elements to try to anesthetize yourself. Okay, so that way you're not feeling those effects of the violations of the laws of your immune system by allowing those negative elements to flourish, and you're not doing anything to counter that. So, so this is why, I really hound on people who are aging, who are giving out health advice, because they've adapted to negative elements that are destroying their body. And they're telling their friends to take all these detoxes, essentially destroying their friend's body because of their ignorance. And so all I'm saying is that we need to be aware of this. So I'm deleting somebody off. Stephen Charles, a troll. Stephen Charles McCreary. Yeah, the Healthy Backstore. Former manager of the Healthy Backstore. Whatever. So when you're doing Jilly Juice, okay, this is where you have to understand how homeostasis interruptus can work to your benefit. Right now, you all are very mutated, right? You're way behind the 8 ball. You're used to negative elements. You're used to anesthetizing yourself. You're used to trying to mitigate pain. I mean, that is your mentality because that's what you've been taught, right? That's your programming. So when you're doing Jilly Juice, you're going to upset the biochemistry. You know why? Because you're actually bringing in the right proper elements the positive elements, the nutritional elements, the trace minerals, the lactobacillus to fight against the cancer, candida, the nutrition to then rebuild those broken cell structures so then you can reverse those mutations from those initial exposures to pathogens. Okay, so you're going to feel the healing pain symptoms, and you're going to accept it because you understand that's what it takes. You have to upset homeostasis in the right direction to get to your ultimate goal, which is continuous life. Okay, we're not taking somebody that is dead and bringing them back to life. That's like not at all what Jilly Juice does. We're not taking someone that is alive and trying to kill them off. That's exactly what's in the Matrix and allopathic holistic model. They may not kill you off right away, but they might relative to what you bring to the table. But the people that are promoting all of their different protocols, that is their expectation. You ask every single person in the allopathic and the holistic model and the MLMers, do you believe that people should die? And they will say yes. That's when you should run away, because it means their protocols are going to eventually kill you off. People will tell you exactly what's going to happen if you just ask the right questions. Then you ask Jillian, is your stuff, do you believe in immortality? And I'm going to say, hell freaking yeah, in the right conditions. And these are the conditions. And I will back it up with science, and I will have convictions. And I will be resolute, and I'll be unwavering, and I'll be completely justifiable. And I will give you the science behind it. But no, you ask somebody out there in the Matrix, in the holistic allopathic world, do you believe in immortality? Do you believe that your protocol can reverse the aging process? And they're going to be hemming and hawing, and they're not going to know what to say. They're not going to, they won't know how, if they do say, oh yeah, it can, they wouldn't be able to back it up. Because look already at the specific measurable results for those who already have taken their protocols. Because everything out there in the Matrix, in the allopathic holistic model, is not new. Nothing is new in the allopathic holistic world. So you already see the results of all the different repackaged protocols that they have, whether it's a keto diet versus the Atkins diet. Whether it's this detox of zeolite versus this detox of bentonite clay. They're both aluminum silicate. Or it's it's like an excess condensed, heavy metal silica, which is basically diatomaceous earth. It's negative to the human body taking in those types of amounts. There is a little bit of silica in cabbage, and the body will then process and absorb what it needs of that silica, and then it will release the excess. You take massive amounts of silica as if it was like, chocolate milk, you're going to destroy and throw the balance off your body. Okay? So that's the model of the allopathic holistic, is getting you guys used to adapting to negative elements to the point of when you die. And these people are showing this. Hey, Gary, they're showing you exactly, and they're going to tell you. So it's like if Gary asks me, hey, do you believe, in immortality? I'm going to say, hell freaking yeah. And this is how you do it. Oh, but you ask an MLMer, someone who's putting out their little spirulina and their little detox shots and whatever, and you ask them as they're aging, do you believe that this is going to reverse the aging process? They'll say no. Oh no, it'll just take care of your cancer, disease, and chronic illness. But guess what? All of these revolutionary cures for AIDS and autism and all these different cures for all these different diseases, they're just smoke and mirrors to have you look to the left, totally distracted, totally ignoring that the aging process is probably the biggest disease and the most accepted disease. But oh no, if we give you these symptoms and call it a name, and then we have a protocol or a drug that will cure it and disappear it, you're going to think that you're so much better than the other guy, but you're still actively aging. You're still going over the cliff. But they have you guys accept that because of adapting to those negative elements, and then you're not aware that when you adapt to negative elements, eventually you have a shelf, you are going to die. So how does Jilly Juice, tap into immortality, someone says. And I'm going to say, hey, look, babies need nutrition. Babies don't have a diet plan, okay? Babies don't eat salad. They're not going to eat cruciferous vegetables. They have to have mother's milk. And if they can't have mother's milk, then they got to have something very close to it so they can get the proper nutrients relative and the proper bacteria, the fat, and the water, okay? If babies need nutrition to develop into a mature adult, then of course a degenerating human needs nutrition that is not unlike mother's milk, that is very relatively the same. No, you're not going to get the fat in Jilly Juice, but you have also the diet and you're able to process solid foods. So you're going to stay with the Jilly Juice protocol. You're going to take in something that is like mother's milk and then also eat foods that you're used to that is relatively positive, though, yeah, there's some negative elements even in the Jilly Juice protocol, but I'm having you understand the most horrific negative elements are the spices, okay? The herbs, the extracts, the onions, the turmeric, all the things are using in the holistic world to combat cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And then eventually when you finally get from these two extremes and you get somewhere in the middle where you felt the best, then you can use a little bit of garlic to season your food, because you're not going to be taking garlic to combat any kind of issue. So you're not going to throw the balance off your body. You're going to have your leaky gut all healed and sealed so you can extract or you can, excrete excess and absorb what you need. Right now, people who are passing around the detoxes and everything and all the pills, powders, and supplements, their gut is a colander. So they're passing on all these different detoxes and shots of spirulina, and it's just basically you pour it through a colander, it's just going out. It's not at all being absorbed by the body. So it's completely irrelevant what these people are doing who are aging, trying to give detoxes and all these different, powdered type drinks to their friends and trying to sell it and say, hey, oh yeah, this is going to help you out, as this person is aging like a mofo. See, that's the key, is when somebody is aging and they're trying to tell you how to have a healthy body, but they're dealing with cell degradation. When someone is injured and they're dealing with pain all the time and they're having to rest because they wrenched their arm, they're weak because they have a body that's degrading. When somebody is working out, lifting all the time, they are destroying their body on a systematic basis. Yes, they are upsetting homeostasis and they're developing muscles and they're looking kind of cute, maybe a little bit younger, right? Because youth right now is completely associated with nice muscles and a fit body, right? So people think, they're under the impression that because you have muscles and you're maybe like you're 60 and you have muscles, you look youthful. But you can see it in a person's face, the degradation that's going on inside their body. But, our programming has us kind of not really understand that muscles is like mutating a body. Look at these bodybuilders. They're mutating their bodies to look a specific way. I mean, I'm watching The Real Housewives. And what's her name? Teresa Giudice. She's being trained by these women that, oh my God, they look like they're taking steroids. They look almost manly, okay? And that's what she's aspiring to be as she is trying to bodybuild and then win a competition. So I'm gonna bring this back to then, to the Travis Alexander and Jodi Arias. Jodi Arias totally murdered Travis. Sha'nan Watts was murdered by her husband, Chris Watts. Laci Peterson was murdered by her husband, Scott Peterson. These are people that have accepted the negative elements in their relationship. They've accepted abuse in some way, whether it's mental abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's whatever abuse. They've accepted that. We in the matrix, in the allopathic holistic world, have accepted abuse to our systems, whether it's immunotherapy, whether it's pills, powders, and supplements and detoxes, whether it's all the different therapies that are out there that claim to help you. It is still abuse of some sort, because look at the outcome. Look at the eventual outcome of you partaking in all of these different therapies and detoxes and, medical and holistic ways. It is death. And all of the people who are hawking those, who are promoting them, will tell you all the time, death is something to expect. People will tell you exactly what is the outcome of their protocols. They will tell you. But we've adapted to it. We've adapted to abuse that we're okay with dying. That's the difference between, and these people that are in these relationships that get murdered have adapted to that type of relationship to where they end up dead. They ignored all the red flags. And you guys that are in the matrix playing with the allopathic and holistic world are ignoring the red flags. And then you're playing in the activist game. You're not understanding the role of Jilly Juice and the positive elements. And you've accepted that death and being uncomfortable for the rest of your life is what is natural. This is for you. And it's tough to watch. And I have zero patience for anybody in my world that does actively accept that. Now, my husband, eventually he may or may not do the protocol because, he has a hard time smelling it. And I get it, but we have an understanding. And maybe if he does hit the wall somewhere where he does have an event, he may change his mind. But right now, he has no reason to. So some of you have friends and family that are going to be in that arena that you're going to have to just kind of watch until they decide. And it's difficult to watch because, and this is what you guys need to start worrying about is those of you that do have people in your world that you depend upon financially and whatever else. They pass away. What are you going to do? Because you've already planned out that you're all going to, you're going to be married together or stay together, right? And they're the breadwinner and you're not, you're at home, you're a stay-at-home mom or wife or whatever. And then you both will get old together and you both die together. That's right now been the plan. Now things are changing. Some of you are relying on yourself to go to work and do this. And what would happen if you did trigger some kind of event to where you can't work anymore? You can't feed yourself anymore. You got to go now on a public dole because you're now, incapacitated in some way. That's a scary thought for anyone that relies on themselves, who doesn't understand the role of positive elements, and someone who depends upon somebody else. You got to start thinking, because people do die every day. But the flags were there. It wasn't like they just died all of a sudden. The flags were there, but they were ignored. So people say, oh, I can't, what's going on with society? What's going on with society? Why are these people, killing their kids and their husbands and their wives? Hello, the red flags are out there. Nobody is paying attention. You're seeing it all over Facebook, how messed up our society is, and it's political too. So you can't even mention some of the politics around some of these mutations. But the signs are there. But we've been adapting to these homeostasis interruptions that are on the negative trajectory, the death trajectory. And so now we got to start regrouping and say, hey, we need to start upsetting homeostasis in a different way on a life trajectory. We cannot adapt to these negative elements. We cannot adapt to this negative society. We have to stand up and speak. It really is incumbent upon you, if you truly believe in life, to stand up and speak. Those of you who know about Jilly Juice, you need to stand up and speak. Why you don't, I don't understand. Maybe you haven't seen the benefits of Jilly Juice yet because you haven't done the Jilly Juice, so you have no voice because you're still stuck in the matrix. My God, people that are doing my protocol, like Bridget and Kevin and whatever, people who are, and Karen or Kristen or whatever, Christine, they see the benefits, and that's why their voice is out there. The reason why you don't have a voice around jelly juice is because you have not done the protocol to the point to where you can see the benefit, because you're still stuck in the matrix. And that's unfortunate, because now you have not given your friends and family an opportunity that they deserve, because you didn't see, you didn't think of yourself as anything worth saving. So, that's why my voice is so loud, because I've already seen the benefits. I already see my future. It's amazing. I already see everything that is possible for humans. And to get you guys to see this, who are still stuck and sick and complaining and bitching about, oh my God, this hurts or that hurts or this hurts. And your friends are like, wow, you've been bragging about jelly juice and now you're in pain. What's the incentive? What's the incentive when you bitch about all of your different aches and pains? Right? I mean, I don't get it. That's part of the protocols. You got to deal with the pain. If you can't deal with the pain, then you will play in the degrading death trajectory of the allopathic holistic market. So yeah, I mean, it's about adapting to the positive elements, not adapting to the negative elements. And so that's why the chemtrails and the 5G and the, even the vaccines, because even though you're not going to be even though you're not taking vaccines actively, you're going to be exposed to people who have taken these vaccines who are going to shed. What are you going to do to counter these things? You can't live in a bubble, guys. You can't avoid the GMO, the pesticides, the things in the air, whether it's pollution or exhaust or whatever. So what are you going to do to counter these negative elements? Or are you just going to bitch and complain, say, hey, you need to stop it, you need to stop it, you need to avoid this, you need to avoid that? And I do say you have to avoid, these spices and things in the jelly juice diet protocol in the beginning, because you're way behind the 8 ball. Some of you are going to be still drug addicted, alcohol addicted, coffee addicted, and you're going to still be taking jelly juice, and eventually your biochemistry is not going to have you be addicted anymore. But that takes time. That takes time. But you can't simply just live in a freaking bubble your whole life. That's what the allopathic and holistic market, they want to put you in a jail. The jail of limitations. That's exactly what they're doing. And so I'm looking at all these conspiracy, posts. They're like, oh, stay away from GMO. And they're showing this rat with tumors. I'm like, yeah, that rat was given all negative elements, not given anything with electrolytes to be able to purge and to repair. They're like, oh, yeah, it's soy. Yeah, when you get yourself to 100% equilibrium or 99%, you can have soy and it's not going to upset your hormones. Because guess what? You now have countering forces, which is nutrition and salt, electrolytes, lactobacillus. So yeah, then the soy argument is completely out the window. Mercury, when it's by itself, is a negative element. It will kill you if you take mercury in its condensed form in large amounts. But guess what? Mercury in small amounts, along with the countering force of jelly juice, is perfectly fine. So mercury is no different than soy when it's taken by itself against a body that is not countering it. Okay, so that's the whole point of this. And this is what people fail to understand, because they're still stuck in the programming. They're adapting to negative elements and they're completely ignoring their red flags. And then one day they're going to end up like Travis Alexander, who was murdered by his girlfriend, or end up like Laci Peterson, but maybe not in the most, violent way like that. But look at the people who are dying in a hospice. That's pretty violent. It may not be from the hands of a knife, but it's from the hands of the war inside your body, because you're losing a battle, because you're taking in all these negative elements and bitching about it, saying, why, I don't understand why my life sucks. I'm sick. I'm so sick. Okay, so, it's the Laci Petersons, the Sha'nan Watts, and the Travis Alexanders are no different than you guys still stuck in the matrix, taking in your pills, powders, and supplements and bitching about it and adapting to that death trajectory. So there's a direct correlation to victims in our society and sick people, because they've ignored all of the red flags. And some deaths are not as violent as other deaths, but it's still death. Death is a violent act. It is chaos. Death is chaos. Okay, you got to understand these associations, these connections that I'm drawing. is appropriate. So there's a reason why I've been listening to, because I'm like, why am I listening to this stuff? But then I am so fascinated by why a person would stay in a fucked up relationship to where they end up dead in that relationship. And then I'm saying, oh yeah, there's a connection to the Laci Petersons and the Travis Alexanders and the Sha'nan Watts, to people who are in the holistic allopathic market. It's just another violence against them. And it's just not as immediate. Well, actually, I don't know. I mean, look, Travis Alexander was dating this chick for a couple years before he ended up dead. Laci Peterson married this guy, thought he was amazing, ignored all the red flags, and then she ended up dead. Sha'nan Watts, the same thing too. So those people, those victims that died by the hands of their lovers and their husbands or wives are no different than you guys dying by the hands of the system that is giving you all these negative elements, and then there's these red flags and you keep ignoring them, like completely ignoring them, and then wonder why it is that you're a victim. Well, hey, here, let me tell you, let me point it out to you. Oh, but no, Jillian, she's crazy. She's insane. No. I'd rather bitch about my health condition than do anything about it. So that's why I get so annoyed with victims, because they're doing, especially the ones that know about Jillian, but especially the ones that were in my group and active on my Facebook, and then they went back to the dark side, completely back to the dark side. So I've been having zero patience for people who are active on my Facebook, who went back to the dark side, the pills, powders, and supplements. That's why I took Angie off my Facebook. That's why Angie Torres is not part of my inner circle, nor will I ever work with her again, because she went back to the dark side, knowing fully well the Jilly Juice protocol and what it is that I stand for. She went back to the dark side. That right there, to me, is complete violation of loyalty when it comes to this, because you're actively destroying now your friends and family. So yeah, if I'm going to be taking Angie Torres off my Facebook, then for sure as hell I'm taking people off my Facebook that were part of my group that went back to the dark side. Absolutely. I have principles. We got to start, up to homeostasis so we don't adapt to these negative conditions that will end up in some kind of violent death in the end. But there you go. That's what you have to understand. Julie, just understand pain is healing, understand the positive elements, understand the role of nutrition, and then just write it out, and then just, schedule things. And it's going to take time. It's going to take freaking time. And then set your friends up correctly, so they're not freaking scared of the fact that you're dealing with some healing, because pain is healing. But you start blasting on Facebook, oh my God, everything hurts and my life sucks. Yeah, that's not exactly an incentive. Okay, we know pain is not fun. You guys are so mutated. It's going to suck. But it's necessary. It's part of this process. You can't get to the good side of life without going through the fire, because you went through the fire to get this mutated, right? Now you got to go through the fire again to get yourself well and healed 100%. It's not rocket science. You can't just materialize good health out of nowhere. You got to actually work for it. So, wow, that's crazy that, because I just couldn't figure out why it is I'm watching these videos. And I'm fascinated by the courtroom drama. I mean, watching the Jodi Arias case and how she was able to articulate and try to make things difficult for the prosecuting attorney was like, oh my God, if you didn't know her background, you would thought she was just the most, she's a smart chick, but not smarter than the system. See, you can be a smart person, you can be evil and smart, but when it comes down to it, life and the right, like being right because of life and hold people accountable, completely overshadows the evil manipulations that go on with these predators. Okay? These predators, when you're predatory and you're circulating in more negative elements than your victims and other people, well, I don't know about your victims. Your victims are probably just as bad, but in a different way. But when you are Juan Martinez, he's aging, yes, but he's not as messed up as Jodi Arias. He knew exactly what he was dealing with because he was trained, he was relatively healthy, and he knew his industry, he knew his business. Jodi Arias thought she was smart, but no, the system figured her out very quickly, and she's in jail. Even the detectives, who are mutated, right? But they're not as mutated as she is. So the more mutated are, the more, I won't say stupid, But the more you're going to make wrong decisions, the more you're going to get comfortable thinking that you're so smart. Mutations are a weakness. That's why I'm saying good will always overcome bad. Life will always overcome death, because life is strength. Death is a mutation. It's a weakness. You got to overcome these weaknesses, or you're going to expire in the system and then bitch about it. Now, not all the time do we see everybody that's, evil get brought to justice. Because some people have killed people out there that still are walking around free. Can't get everybody. But the ones, these high profile ones, but the ones that do, they tried to be smart. They tried to get away with it. But no, here's an example. But the people that do kill people and do that type of stuff, they end up getting their karma. They end up dying anyways. They're aging. So the ones that are these naturopathics, homeopathics, and doctors and MLMers and detox specialists, they're getting theirs too in the end, because they're actively aging. They're dying by their own hand, by their own protocols. So yeah, they're getting theirs. If the system doesn't hold you accountable, life will hold you accountable if you're dealing with the negative elements. So Darwin and whatever, and I don't want someone to say, oh, it's not Darwin, it's God. Don't give me that either. I've seen people that apply to play that game of God versus Darwin. I don't want to play that game. It is survival of the fittest. The healthiest person is going to overshadow a weak, mutated person all the time. You know why? Because they have brain cells that are working faster and more effective than someone that's brain foggy and weak. Okay? Now, some of you are mutated where you're stronger, but you're not mentally all there. You still have problems with my information. So yeah, you may be lifting, 200 pounds, benching, and I can't bench 200 pounds, but I can tell you that I will live longer than that person who can bench 200 pounds. So the ultimate outcome is life. If death is your expectation, then you've already bought into that adaptation to the death trajectory. And then karma will then kick you in the ass. And karma is kicking these people in the ass, and you're watching it. So that's why I'm so vocal, is because I know what the possibility for Jilly Juice for people who are just like me, who want to live. You all are like me, whether you're male or female. We all have 11 different systems. But those that are like me want to live, and they will understand where I'm coming from, and they won't dispute, and they won't debate, and they won't make fun of me. But those that don't understand me will play those games, and I'm just whatever. I don't even care anymore. Because now my patience for only the people that really truly want to live. Everyone else can go to hell. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but hey, you already chose that path. It's hard for me to watch you go down that path. So it is what it is. Anyways. All right, I'm gonna go do my thing. I got stuff to do. But I wanted to share what I've been I don't know, man. The things that I've been listening to on YouTube, there's a reason behind it. Well, now I know. See, that's the higher power that speaks through me. Because I'm now figuring out why it is I've been gravitating towards watching those types of videos. Because that's not a peaceful thing, watching the courtroom dramas and the interrogation tapes and the body cam tapes. Because you go to YouTube. Go watch the Chris Watts, the body cam of the police officer that actually, saw when he was lying, when they were interrogating him at his own house. And then the neighbor has the running video, the closed circuit camera of him actually was the only one that left that house that day, because he was loading the bodies into his car and then burying them or throwing them in oil tanks. Okay? There's no joy in that, but there's a fascination for a reason. And I guess this was the reason. They are an example, an extreme example of what you guys are doing. You're going to end up in a violent death because you're ignoring the red flags. And that violent death is from the allopathic holistic mode of managing your illnesses. And some of it is through the hands of scalpels and surgeries, which is no different than a knife. Or being strangled. Well, some of these drugs strangulate people. Some of these diseases strangulate people. ALS basically keeps you a prison in your own body. You're thinking and you're feeling, but you can't move. That's a violent end to somebody's. That's based upon the model of the allopathic holistic. Okay, so those people that were murdered look to them as an example of what you guys are doing when you're playing in the pills, powders, and supplements, and allopathic and the matrix holistic market. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.